From the Weather NorCal Command Center, this is your morning update.
Hey, you in a hurry this morning or any morning? I want you to know that there's a great resource for you if you're just getting out the door, want to know what to expect for the day. Let's go to Kruger's QuickCast. Go to weathernorcal.com, go to the forecast video section. That's basically where you get this video as well, same area. And you can just, in about a minute, usually a little bit longer than that, in about a minute, you will get what you can expect heading out the door and as you go through the day. So check that out, Kruger's QuickCast. Hey, I want you to send in those photos like Ellie Delgado did here. Look at this. I mean, this looks like something you'd see in one of those nature magazines, right? This is a beautiful shot sent in by Ellie of a hummingbird out in the Cottonwood area. You know, we're getting a lot of those. My wife puts out the hummingbird feeder. It is a beautiful sight. I want you to share your photos every single morning, Monday through Friday, on this update and on Coffee with Kruger. I'll share one photo a day, so I want you to do that. It'll also be on social media for the day. So share those photos so everyone can enjoy what it is you take photos of, whether it's your pets, a hummingbird, a sunrise, sunset, or just ways that you're going to stay cool, because we're talking about you're going to need to figure out ways to stay cool here this week, this weekend, and most likely even going into next week. That's what I'm talking about, the extended heat wave this week without much relief over in those overnight hours. Now, another thing we need to talk about is the fire danger that we're going to see here early this week. That's going to be due to the fact those windy conditions, the heat kicking in, and not to mention very dry conditions. Now, as I mentioned, this is going to be an extended heat wave that will most likely extend well into next week. But I will say that as we go through next week, we'll at least start to see the temperatures trending downward, but still very hot conditions. Your neighborhood forecast at a glance, well, those triple digits have been here for the valley. It's kind of hovering around 100, but now we're starting to see them go up above 100 degrees and approaching eventually even that 110 degree mark. Now, obviously not as hot for the mountains, but still it's warming up there as well, with highs in the 80s and of course upper 90s out in Trinity County. So let's start with talking about the fire danger. We have a red flag warning in effect for tonight through Wednesday night. This is when we expect some of the strongest winds. This is for the valley and the surrounding foothills. Winds gusting up to 30 miles per hour, humidity down to as low as 5%, even lower than that in some cases here. So we start off with the winds. This morning, it may be a bit breezy for the north and west side of the valley here. And then we go into this afternoon and evening, there's still pretty gusty for parts of the valley. The winds picking up for some of the higher elevations, still some strong winds along the coast, but again, the main concern is going to be here, where we are seeing some of those strongest winds, and not to mention that higher fire danger. Now, look what happens as we go into Tuesday morning. Now we're seeing a lot of yellows and oranges in there. We're getting over 30 miles per hour. That's the case here as we go into Tuesday morning and even into Tuesday afternoon. The winds may still be a bit breezy on Wednesday, but should show signs of starting to die down. So we look at our relative humidity. And what we're seeing here, of course, the humidity is important to look at when we're talking fire danger, because the drier it is, the easier it is for a fire to start. So we're talking about single digits for most of us in the valley. But check out Tuesday. Now we're dropping down into 4%. 4, 6, 8% for the northern end of the valley. But look at this too. Even in the higher elevations, it's getting very dry. And this is something I kind of pointed to last week. The driest conditions started with the valley, then eventually worked its way into the north and east mountains. Now we're starting to see drier conditions work their way westward into Trinity County. Look at this. I mean, we're getting in the teens and some low 20s there. So fire danger is beginning to get more and more elevated, unfortunately, as we progress over the next couple of weeks, even for places like Trinity County. But for today, yeah, we're going to be in that high category, getting those deep oranges, approaching the very high category. But check out Tuesday. Now we're starting to see those deep reds in here. Now you're getting into the very high. We are approaching the extreme fire danger. And again, why? Well, of course, the winds are going to be stronger tomorrow, but on top of that, lower relative humidity and hotter temperatures. So the fire potential for Tuesday, there it is. You see that W right there? That's due to the fact that we've got those gusty winds. That continues into Wednesday, and then this will all turn into moderate risk as we go into your Thursday. All right, so let's talk about now the heat. Okay, so we're going to start with an excessive heat warning for the valley and the surrounding foothills for tomorrow through Saturday. Temperatures between 110 and 115 degrees at their hottest. It could get up to maybe 116. Lows overnight, 70s basically. So not much relief overnight. An excessive heat warning for Trinity County into northern Humboldt County, not to mention southward for Wednesday through Saturday. So the temperatures are warming up there, but just not as hot as we're going to see here in the valley. Now, there's an excessive heat watch, which won't take effect until this Thursday, but lasts through Saturday for most of Siskiyou County, and not to mention Modoc County. And there is a heat advisory starting Wednesday through Saturday for Trinity County and, of course, southern Humboldt County as well. So we've got some very hot temperatures in store for us this week, and that extends all the way into Southern California and even northward, with an excessive heat watch for parts of southern Oregon as well. So this is a heat wave that will not only affect us, but really the entire western United States is expected to get that heat wave as well. Now we look at the big picture of what's going on. What you'll notice is this big void of clouds over the eastern Pacific. This is where the ridge of high pressure that's going to give us the heat is developing. So the first thing I want to talk about, let's switch gears again and talk about that fire danger. Because with the high pressure here, this is a classic setup. We see this a lot during the summertime, during the summer season. We see that clockwise rotation around that high, and then what we see is those winds coming in from the north-northwest around that area of high pressure, and that helps us support the gusty winds on the coast when you've got that jet stream right on top of us. That's for today, that's for tomorrow in particular, and then going into your Wednesday as well. So again, you can see those winds right there. But now, as this ridge of high pressure extends, builds, and moves closer to us, we're going to really focus our attention less on the winds now because they'll die down, and more on that heat. So you hear the term bubble of heat, and I've talked about this before. Think of a dome of high pressure. Think of a dome, okay? The highest part of that dome is where you have the hottest temperatures. That is right there at the center of the low. The outer perimeter of that dome is where you have temperatures not as hot. So you're getting in the outer perimeter of that dome over here, up here, down to the south, and of course to the west. So when we get that right on top of us, which essentially for all intents and purposes it pretty much is here for your Thursday and Friday, that's what we've got to watch. Now watch what happens as we go into Saturday. This is when I think we're going to see the peak. We're going to kind of see it go up, then down a little bit, then back up. Saturday, look at that dome right on top of us. This is when we could expect to see some of the hottest temperatures. And then, of course, that dome extends northward. We're hearing about heat, especially toward the end of this week and this weekend, going into parts of the Pacific Northwest as well. Then we go into Sunday, Monday, Tuesday. Now, look what's happening. That ridge of high pressure is shifting now back down into the Great Basin and into the Four Corners region. It's still going to be hot, but we're going to be on the downward trend with these temperatures. So that is good, but it's not going to really break down entirely, probably until the middle to maybe latter part of next week. Let's take a look at some statistics. We're going to talk about the number of 100 plus degree days and the records. Last year we saw 42 days of 100 plus degree temperatures for the entire year. 2022, 71 days. That was 1 degree shy of the record of 72 days in 2017. That's for the entire year. Now, another thing that's interesting is we are looking at extended heat wave here. So we look at the number of consecutive days of 100 plus degree temperatures. Now, the record was in 1978 from July 17th to August 11th of 26 straight days, almost an entire month of 100 degree plus temperatures one day after another. We're looking at Reading, by the way, these records since 1893. Now in 1969, 71, and 2005, That the second highest number of days was 23 days straight. Now, most of these, if you'll notice, they started as early as July 12th. So we're kind of within that range. We're actually earlier than these records of when these consecutive days started. Now, are we going to get up to 23 days? Are we going to get up to 26 days? Probably not, but you can bet we're going to be at 10 plus days. Now, this begs the question, what's the all-time record high? And this, a lot of people like to debate it. But these are official numbers that I'm reporting, folks. I'm not going off of your grandma's thermometer back in the day, right? I'm going off of the official record high. That's all I can do. I don't want to sit here and start making assumptions of what other people saw back in the day, right? We're going off official numbers here. So far in Redding, the all-time record high is 118 degrees, and that hit 3 times. 1971, 10 years later, 1981, and then of course 7 years later in 1988. Notice when most of these hit. The first ones hit in August, but the one in 1988 hit in July 20th. That was the earliest we hit that all-time record high. Could we meet or exceed the all-time high with this heat wave? At this point, I'm going to say probably not, but it is going to get close. Let's take a look at that temperature trend. I've got 115, so here's what's happening. The temperatures are going up as we go through Wednesday. That's the peak this week. We see a slight dip for the 4th of July, but then going into the weekend, Friday into the weekend, 114, 115. You may see in some instances 116, 117, not entirely 100% out of the question, but I'm not sold on that just yet. We're still kind of getting a ways out there. But this is going to be an extended heat wave of at least 100 degrees, if not upwards of 110 degrees and higher for an extended period of time. Okay, we switch gears now. We talk about the wave heights. They're actually starting to increase a bit here as we go into today, and in particular going into your Tuesday. Now, as a result, for today, there is a small craft advisory. It's going to probably be upgraded to a hazardous seas warning here later this afternoon and into tonight. But look at the winds from the north at about 20 to 25 knots. All right, let's take a look at your neighborhood forecast, starting off with Trinity County. And no triple digits just yet for today, but that'll change by tomorrow. You're getting over 110 degrees possibly for places like Weaverville and maybe even Hayfork for your Thursday, Friday, even into this upcoming weekend. Now for the North Coast, you're being impacted by this heat wave, not to the same extent obviously, but you're getting into the 70s by the middle and latter part of the week, and that extends into the weekend. Take a look at your inland 7-day forecast. Could get up to 110 degrees for some of those hottest days as well. So again, today's just marking the very beginning. We're going to notice temperatures bumping up from what we saw over the weekend. They're going to bump up even more going through the week. Not bad in Mount Shasta, the high of 86 today, but you're up to 100 degrees by the 4th of July and into the weekend. 84 degrees for Alturas today, 84 for Bidwell, but it's hard to believe we're going from 85 up to 100 degrees by Saturday, even in some of the highest of elevations. We're talking 89 degrees out in Janesville, 91 that is for Susanville, 71 would be nice, 91 for Shingletown, and 96 degrees in Paradise. Let's take a look at your Valley neighborhood forecast brought to you by NorCal Tractor. Yeah, we're going to be 100 degrees or higher for most, if not all of us, in the Valley today. 102 out towards the city of Shasta Lake, 103 for Whiskeytown, 104 for Redding, and there you can see about 105 degrees out in Palisadro. Let's take a look at that 7-day outlook for Redding. It's 100 degrees or higher for the next 7-10 days. It's going to be an extended period. Now look at this, 110 plus starting tomorrow through Sunday, if not even into Monday of next week.